to start to cover the fuselage with doculum. But before I've done that, I've worked out the control runs are pull, the exit for the elevator on the top here, and for the rudder and possibly the return on the elevator down below. The plans suggest you put a little patch there. I'm not sure what sort of patch I'm going to use. I think originally it just would have been a bit of extra canvas, but I've got to know exactly where they're going to come out. So on the strength of that, I've sort of run a piece of wire from the servo up to the approximate position of the control horn, and I think I know where they're going to come out. I'm heating up my iron now, quite hot. I've set it for 150, and I'm going to cover the top of this first and tissue it. Normally you wouldn't do it like that, and it's very, very thin, so it's not going to leave a join here because it's so ridiculously thin. So what are we up to? Up to 150. Let's just try that. Yeah, it's sticking nice. What you have to do with doculum is get it as tight as you can, because it doesn't have the shrinking power of ordinary film. So you've got to get it pretty tight. The other thing with doculum is once it gets hot, it goes transparent, so you can kind of like see exactly where you put the iron, which is quite useful. You can get different thicknesses of this. I can't remember what thickness this is, but it's I think there was a size thinner. There's probably a few sizes thicker. I'm going to come down over the stringer because I want to cut it off underneath there, so it's going to come over. Oh, the other thing I didn't show you there is I've stuck a cross member in with a piece of round plastic. It goes inside the plastic, so it actually gives me a bearer to pass the wires. The control wires will come up from the servo over this and then up to the correct angle. That's the theory. So that's a good heat by the look of it. I'll just trim this and then we'll stretch it out. The sharp blade is essential. Pretty stuff. It's pretty tough stuff, is doculum. You don't really burn through it. I might up the temperature just in that corner, so we'll look down here. Yeah. You heat it, take the iron off, and then it sort of shrinks a bit after you've gone. What's the purpose of doculum? Well, especially on the sides, it makes it very difficult to puncture the tissue, and it's also obviously adds a bit of strength, and at the same time makes it impervious to moisture, so the tissue doesn't sag on a sort of damp. I'm going to use dope, thin down of course, and the question is, shall I or shall I not make the tissue damp? That is the question. On an open structure, I'd say certainly, but I'm going to try it like this and see how we get on. That's acceptable. Okay, it's trimmed around. Doesn't come out too bad. Seen worse. I've decided I'm not going to worry about the exits now. I'm going to worry about them later. I'm pretty certain they're going to come out there and there for the top controls, so I'm just going to run a little hole through and we'll see what happens to the cable then. So next thing to do was to cover the fuselage with doculum, which I've done, and I'm now going to put some tissue on. Right, so I've just laid the tissue on that side and pretty much as the same. Went on quite well. A couple of wrinkles here and there, hopefully they'll come out. They did on top, so I'm hopeful. Got to cover the tail feathers and the wings with doculum. So I've just been sticking on some decoration on the side and the top. Unusually there's a number right on the top there. Oh, and the other thing I've just done is to glue in the instrument panel. I've been looking forward to that. So that looks very nice. We go a little bit further back on this side because I sanded away a little bit of the paper. That's okay. So it's just ordinary water in this bottle. Okay, lightly damped. And then I'm just going to do this equally all the way around. Okay, let's see what happens. So I can always pull it all off. So, oops. I think it might just work. Not too bad. I can see the overlap, so it shouldn't be too difficult to cut along the edge. So I've got a new blade. I'm going to start here. That's great. Okay. You notice I'm starting on the side and working my way around the bottom. There we go. Extra bit there to come off. This is where you want a nice sharp blade. Okay, beautiful. That's not too bad at all. I've covered the tailplane with doculum, the elevators with doculum, and tissued them. Yeah. The rudder and fin are both covered with doculum and tissued. The fin on this is red, so it looks spectacular. Really, really spectacular. And so, yeah, I've yet to offer it all up. So let's do it. I just want to see how that looks. Oh yeah, yes. That really is something else. That is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I have to cut out where it sticks, of course, the tissue and the doculum, and also where the fin is going to stick. Right, here we are. The tailplane is sitting in position, but the elevators and rudder are hinged, and it's looking very, very colourful back there, isn't it? I love it. There's the shiny cow. I won't fit the motor until the wings are in, and I probably won't fit the undercarriage until the wings are in. It's going to be easier to line things up a bit. But yeah, look at that. Great progress. Okay, time to start the wing. I've just cut some doculum. Temperature's up to about 180, and make sure I'm gone all the way around, and a little bit there, a little bit there, and there. I'm not going to go all the way up. I'm going to turn it over now and do the underneath. So let's try and get an even tension on it. Don't forget this stuff only has a small amount of shrinking. Right, now I'm going to stick the doculum to the leading edge all the way down. Make sure it's absolutely as one with it. Okay, I've had a busy afternoon. I've covered the top wing. I've left the centre section until after it's been glued in because I want to have access to the strut tops. The servos are in, the servo wires are in, and I've used the doculum to actually make the hinges. So there you are. I've used double-sided tape to hold the servos in. They're half buried, that'll be fine. Okay guys, it's next day and I'm going to go at tissue in the wing. Just watched Mark Croucher's video on tissuing, and I can't remember if I've done this before or not, but following the doculum I'm going to tissue it, and I'm going to apply the tissue like Mark did as if it were a bare wing. So I'm just going to use my glue stick and then damp it with water and then either dope it or matte lacquer. I'll probably dope it because that's the finish on the rest of the aeroplane. I want it to be equally as shiny. One thing worth noting looking at this actually is, because I took off the little edge, you know, sharp corners of the riblets, you've got this lovely sort of transition of smoothness. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run some glue stick around the edge, around here, and then just lay this on. Something like that, and then do the edges. The glue stick I'm using is just a standard glue stick, to be honest. This one's made by a company called Helix, Oxford. Just making sure it's going on there, and it is. You can see it in the reflection of the window. Make sure everything is in order. This is straightforward so far, isn't it? I want to stretch it as much as I can on the tip, because it's going to stick. Okay, I'm going to trim it off because it's flapping about here. I'm going to put a little bit of surface on it so I can come around the edge a little bit. I can show you a little trick here. So not I've shown you before, but I'll show you again anyway. If you use a nail file, you can sort of grip the tissue just enough to give it a little pull. Just pull it out a little bit tighter, because obviously I can't pull it on the bit I've just cut off because there's hardly anything there. But I just want to stick this down because there's a chance it might pull while I'm handling it, and I want it to stay tight, not stuck to the... There we go. The other good thing about putting the tissue on dry is it doesn't snag, because wet tissue can fall apart quite quickly with handling. I took a day off from the project actually yesterday to start my next one, and when I say start, I was just scanning and CADing all day. Okay, we'll let that dry a little bit, it won't take long, and then I can spray it with water. and then once I've sprayed it with water, I'm just going to weigh the back trailing edge down to help prevent any twists or warps going in there. I'm going to put down a plastic sheet because there's going to be a bit of water spray, and I've got my weights ready. So I've done the middle wings, half the top wing, I've done the bottom wing as well. So that's ready. Didn't take long. So I'm going to stretch these out, and I'm going to weigh down the trailing edge, and I'm going to do that with the weights between, like that. So simple spray bottle. Where are we? Where is my simple spray bottle? It's here just now. There it is. A very fine mist. The finer the mist you can put on, the better. Once the tissue is damp, it's a good idea not to touch it because it's going to be delicate. And no matter how bad it looks, we'll just leave it and it will recover. So this has had about half an hour, 45 minutes to dry, so it should be fine. So let's go. A quick spray. You can see this. Let's come up a bit higher. That's plenty. So the weights I'm going to use are my trusty engineering blocks, and perhaps I'll make it a little bit further apart and I'll put them there like that. Not too far apart then. About there. I'll put one in the middle for good luck. Good luck. There we go. So we'll let that set off and we'll come back to it in a bit of a while. Well, probably come back to it in a couple of hours, but I should be out for the day, so we'll come back to it at the end of the day. Cheers guys. I'm now doping the tissued surfaces. The water stretched out reasonably well, but I'm having trouble with the tissue on the wings, and I think it's because I had a too weak a mixture, so it was sticking before it had a chance to shrink. So I've upped the dope content to try and get it a little bit better, so we'll see if it will improve. It's not so bad on the main wings. I've put an extra coat on and it has come up better, so we'll see how this progresses. But the underneath's tissued beautifully. The top surface is tissued beautifully, but I'm doping the underneaths first, and then I'm going to turn them over and dope the top. So this is a slightly thicker mixture of dope. Stick that down. So just laying it on. See what happens now. So I'm just going to weigh it down just on the trailing edge, just a little bit like that, just to keep it as flat as I can while it dries. So see how that goes. I think I've got the dope mixture about right now. There simply was too much thinners in it and not enough dope to make any difference to the tissue, but that's quite nice. Gorgeous, isn't it? That lovely feel, like silk. Right, so I've got that one done, got this one to do. The bottoms are done. This one I think is going to remain a bit scabby, for want of a better word, but you won't see it, it's underneath. So I've got the top to do there. That's a middle wing. Two wings finished, middle ones. Put those to one side. Let's put them down there. The bottom wings, I know I'm going to do the top surface in a moment, but on the bottom wing there's a lovely big roundel to go on, and I thought it might be rather fun to put one on now. And all I've done is to print them out on my laser printer to the correct size, I had to draw them up. So I'm just going to cut the, you see that? I'm just going to cut the white line off of this one. They're just ordinary paper, and I'm going to stick it on with PVA, watered down, and then I'm going to dope it. Okay, so these go just, the roundel goes just to the left of this rib here, or just on the outside of that rib, and equidistant. When I put it on the top wing, I know this isn't the top wing, but I'll show you as an example, because it dents in and out quite a lot, and it's sometimes paper doesn't bend like puckers, but if I make it wet with white PVA, it will go into the dents a little bit. So I'm just going to use a little bit of PVA, or any old white glue will do, doesn't have to be PVA. Make it nice and wet. Should be enough. I'm going to apply it with my finger. Fingers with PVA, if you get it on the front, it just makes it sort of go shiny. You could paint it with PVA if you wanted. Afterwards, seal it in. Okay. It goes just there. Doesn't that look good? Any lumps that might appear will disappear with as it dries, a little bit of time. So I only mention it because it's a little bit lumpy in the middle. It's not lumps, it's the water affecting the paper. Hi guys, welcome back. I'm fitting the tailplane. Fin's already glued to the tailplane. These are on here just to hold the elevators flat so I can line things up, look down it, etc. The bottom wings sitting temporarily in place to make sure everything is square. And I'm just about to mix up some epoxy to glue it on. I've got to glue the bottom rudder hinge into the rudder post, and I've got a rubber band on to hold it down. That goes over the top like that. I've had it on and off a few times just to make sure this is absolutely level. So now I'm going to mix up some epoxy and put some on the rudder hinge, connect that in, drop it on, and bring the band over. That's the plan. I'm using epoxy because I don't want it to come off in flight. Well, that's a good idea, Cliff. Okay, here we go. And last time I sat like this, and I've got to get that square, but I've got to get that hinge in. The hinge has to go in first, and then it just sort of drops down into place like that. That's not bad. Sliding back somehow over the top and round there. That's pretty good. Got to make sure it's not skewed that way. The way I'm going to do it, I'm going to go from that strut position to the wingtip, like that, and that strut position to the wingtip. So go slightly, ever so slightly to the left. That should do it. And that's it. That is now fixed. There we go. The tailplane looks pretty big. It's not scale size, but it'll all look good when it's done, proportionally, I think. Okay, and remove the rubber band. It's a beautiful stretchy one, like that. And take the little pin out the bottom, which I use to stop it riding back over. How does that rudder hinge? Oh, that's okay. So there we are. That's the elevator. Sorry, that's the tailplane in position. I can now work out the control runs for the rudder and elevator from the servos. I don't need the wing on anymore, so we'll pop that one off until the control runs are done. The roundels look very nice as well. Pop that to one side because that's finished with for now. That's all the wings, all the doping done actually. I can wash the brush out. Popped in the model shop and bought some collets for the undercarriage. I haven't made the wheels yet, so they can have to wait. I've also bought some connectors for the servo and control wires. Unfortunately, they only had one packet, so I can only fix up one set. So I think I'll go with the elevators because they're going to be the most difficult. What I'm going to do is fit these to one of the outputs and start trying to line up a rod to work out exactly where I have to go through the fuselage. I can use the plan as a rough guide. Plan is saying out here somewhere. To come out there and up to there, I'm going to have to be at a crisscrossy angle, which isn't really going to work because it means I'm going to be tight one side. I'll just have to work it out. If necessary, if things don't go to plan, then I can always cut that panel out, do some jiggery pokery inside for the control runs, and then just pop that back on. But we'll see how we get on. So I'll be back soon.